Hello!
Hey everyone.
Hey, Melanie,
Karen. Just in case you guys missed it, in case you're unaware, there was kind of a big basketball last night, and we thought we'd bring in a few little props just to say, we're the North.
Yay!
I
Karen,
mean,
were you up late watching the game?
I will admit I was up late watching the game, and to be fair, I am not a basketball fan. I'm a bit of a bandwagon fan, but I totally got behind it the last little bit.
I am too. So I watched, I think, my first basketball game on Tuesday.
That's fair.
Which was the Raptors. But I did not stay up last night because we are also part of the Partners for Life program where Over the Edge donates blood. And I wasn't feeling super great after my donation, so I went to bed.
That's fair.
But I'm feeling FOMO. Like, I really wish that I watched it.
Well, you can see all the highlights today. That I promise you will not miss out on any of them.
Exactly. Okay, so we are...
Yeah, back to the topic at hand.
Yes,
Once we get a little excited.
So today we're going to be talking about incentive levels. So incentive levels to engage your participants to raise beyond the fundraising minimum. So typically that's $1,000, but sometimes it's more than that. And there's various different ways in which you can engage people to raise more than that. And then I know, Karen, you were interested in also communicating sponsorship packages and levels and deals and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's probably because I do the sponsorship webinar, so I talk about sponsorship a lot.
Right.
But I think it's just another important piece of it that, this event is really unique and really different, and you want to make sure that your sponsorship packages are just the same that everyone else sees. You don't want to stand out when it comes across their desk, so making it look a little bit different, or finding some of those incentive levels that might appeal. Yeah. We've seen ones that, leveraging your local connections that you have. So whether that's, getting them tickets to a sporting event in town, or you have a great relationship with your building and you're able to give away some free hotel rooms for it, or maybe, you have this really cool site that's part of your programming that you do that maybe, if you're doing a capital campaign, there's naming rights to it. So all kinds of really different things you can do for sponsorship, but we'll kind of focus back on the participant piece first, and then sort of if we have any questions, we'll kind of delve a little bit deeper into that sponsorship. But shout out to my sponsorship webinar if you want to join. I can't tell you when the next one is. I think it's next week. I think I have it next week.
It is next week.
Yeah, I think it's next Wednesday.
Yes, best practices, participant communication, and sponsorship are on the same day.
Melanie's clearly the one that remembers.
Get them locked and loaded. Get that in your schedule. I always recommend the best practices webinars starting out. So if you haven't set in on those webinars, definitely do so. We are encouraging, I see that there's a couple people that have just popped on. We're encouraging you to comment along the way. We would love to have an engaged conversation.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll hear from you.
And even if you have a question that isn't necessarily on, incentive levels, kind of another quick question about anything in regards to your event, let us have it, and we'll do our best to find a decent answer.
Make it happen. All right. And if there are any audio issues, please let us know.
That would be helpful.
I think we're good. We had the bars going up and down, so I think we're good. Okay, so incentive levels from just like a basic, you've developed your strategic plan, and there's a part of your plan where it says, what's going to be your event structure. And usually during that event structure, you have the opportunity to kind of figure out how you're going to incentivize participants to raise beyond that $1,000. And it doesn't have to be a full scaled effect at the $1,200 mark. You're going to get this, $1,500, you're going to get this. Like, it doesn't have to be this whole project. Like Karen mentioned, you can work with the resources that you already have built into your relationships and your partnerships, and making that work for what's going to really motivate people to get beyond that $1,000. Obviously, at the $1,000 level, typically what's given is obviously the rappel, an event day t-shirt, a swag bag, but considering different levels and different items that are going to get you to encourage participants to raise even more is going to be really great. And so that's what we want to really chat about.
Yeah.
So Karen, what are the most popular incentive levels that you hear about?
Sure. I think GoPros are kind of one of the biggest ones that, it's a really kind of cool experience to sort of film your experience, especially if you're a first-time rappeller, or, you have a new building, or maybe, you're trying to re-engage some of your participants that maybe, 3-4 years ago you didn't have that ability and now you do. Yeah. Kind of a great way to re-engage some previous participants with your event. So I find that's sort of a really popular one that we see a lot. And then anything that you can get donated in kind, like, think of those connections that you already have. How can you leverage them? I mentioned the hotel rooms. Do you have a relationship with a hotel? You do your big gala at that might be able to donate some rooms for it? Or do you guys order all of your, internal staff meeting lunches from a certain place? You could be able to get the restaurants to maybe donate some gift cards.
Right.
So just thinking of those connections that you have, and my biggest one that I like is, what is something, what's an experience something that you can't just pay for? So a great example of one of our clients, the Riverbend Nature Center. So they actually had a butterfly room, and I think it was for one of their sponsorship levels. So I think it was their presenting sponsor. They actually got to have a private party in this butterfly room that wasn't typically open to the public. So it didn't cost them any more money, but it's a really cool experience you couldn't just, write a check for. So when you think of those experiences, what are ones you guys might have? So, do you have a brand new facility that maybe no one has seen yet because you're waiting to open it for a month's time? So maybe they get a sneak peek of it. Or I see a lot, if you're a Make-A-Wish or Big Brothers Big Sisters and you work with youth, maybe having some of your youth actually go to these places to have a talk. So that could be used for sponsorship, it could be used for an individual participant, or, maybe for the Marion Cultural Alliance, the portrait they did. So it was an art center that we were working with, and their top fundraiser actually got a custom portrait painted by a well-known artist in the community.
Right. And that speaks to kind of a different kind of strategy in which you can incentivize, is having those top fundraiser, top team. That's definitely a strategy that I do see some partners do. So top team, top fundraiser. I think also presenting sponsor. I've seen plaques given away, or a piece of artwork, something that is related to your mission. If you always kind of bake in your mission whenever you're communicating about the event or building out anything. So I think that's a really good point. To kind of go to the first thing that you mentioned, the GoPro rappels. This is by far the most popular incentive level. It makes sense. It goes to that point that you mentioned about experience over something tangible. Over the Edge is something really unique. I was gonna say bananas, but we do it all the time. But it is something very unique. A lot of people don't rappel on the regular that are going to participate in your event. And so doing something that's related to this really unique experience is going to be a huge takeaway. So having a GoPro rappel as an incentive level at the $1,500 level, I do see people working to get to that because they want that video footage of them and the audio of their experience.
I mean, you don't always want the audio. I know me personally, you do not want my audio when I rappel.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I totally agree with you. I was crying the first time. The second time I went over, we did do my partner and I. We had GoPros on it, so we were able to look at one another.
Nice.
And that was really fun. And my GoPro was just looking at the brick wall. Meanwhile, he's just looking around. He's not working over the edge. I'm working over the edge. I'm afraid of heights, but I love working with you guys. So anyways, GoPros are by far the most popular. There's a couple of ways in which you can kind of organize getting GoPros. So, maybe you reach out to a local audiovisual company, a university. Can they donate the GoPros? I think that's kind of a first step rather than going out and purchasing them. Or maybe you have a connection with a local photographer or photography group that has GoPros as well. GoPros are pretty good quality for the price, but if you were to go out and buy 5 GoPros for your event, it can be a little costly.
Yes.
So, and typically, your client experience manager can let you know, based on how many people you think are going to reach that incentive level, how many GoPros you'll need, because we can circulate it throughout the day, but we need to schedule that. So if you have 30% of your participants that are going to be going over the edge with a GoPro, then you need to space those out really nicely. Yes. So make sure you plan for that. All right. So that's GoPros. And then we also talked about experience versus tangible items based on what you're doing and how unique this is.
And I'm trying to hit some other tangible ones I've seen. I've seen some great medals. I've seen some great kind of carabiners, so you can kind of have personalized, with your logo on them as well, which also ties into the Over the Edge event.
Exactly.
I've seen picture frames that are great, so a way they can kind of display that really cool picture that, you stand back, you see it, the arms are, the big,
the framed photo.
Sometimes the grin on your face, the grimace on mine, but,
right,
similar to that.
And I see, obviously there's a couple of you that are on right now. What incentive levels have you planned? If you plan this out already, let's get the conversation going. But
we could plug for rope bracelets. That's another good one.
Rope bracelets are one of the popular ones. So Over the Edge just recently, this past year, has put together rope bracelets from a retired rope. So it's a super sustainable approach, but you also get, I don't have my rope bracelet on, but
I'll grab mine from the office.
Okay, perfect. But basically it's made from retired Over the Edge rope. So people have rappelled using this rope before, but we always circulate and check our gear, and so it's a way that we can kind of reuse it. And I think they're super cool. We have them in 2 different sizes, small and large. You can find them on our Facebook group. You're on Facebook right now. It's marketed there, but it's also on the overtheedgeglobal.com/shop. And, we have them in 2 sizes as well. I don't know if Melanie mentioned it. I have a baby wrist, so it works out really well that it still fits on my child size wrist. Yes, so it's great. Anyways, that's another option. So again, it is related to the experience. It is an item that can spark some conversation. But yeah, so that's a good level for, I would say 1,250 if you have a fundraising minimum of 1,000.
And then we've also seen some great, Special Olympics especially has done some great job with branded clothing, so they can see their sort of repellers year on year. Maybe one year it's a T-shirt, maybe the next year it's a jacket, the next year it's a hat. So that we kind of see people year in year. It's like, that's the shirt that I'm wearing for 2016. Those are my 2017 track pants. This is my 2018 jacket. So it sounds kind of crazy, but they do a really great job with it.
They also do alumni stuff.
Yeah,
I've noticed that too. So alumni is obviously a key target if you're doing this event year after year. They're a key target to get you on top of recruitment right away. So I see that with Special Olympics as well, and other organizations. But
there's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. So cool.
Yeah, so I think there's there's some of those kind of physical objects you can do that. I like the tangible versus the intangible, and then there's kind of the intangible ones that are a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but there's still those equally cool experiences. How cool is it, having a Wish kid come to your company that you work for and kind of having a talk with everyone in your department because you were the highest fundraiser for this event, and you really get an idea of where your funds are going to and sort of what they're supporting. And I think we have our first visitor coming through the door. The door is opening. Is he coming through? We're watching. He is. So we're doing this in our kitchen at work, and so we put a sign on the door that anyone that came in the kitchen had to come say hello on our Facebook Live.
Yes.
So Mike, you're up.
Background. President Mike!
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday.
So there's your cameo of the day with Mike.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, so in terms of talking about just strategies of building out your incentive levels and doing kind of a scaled effect, we've already kind of touched on that, $1,250, $1,500 could be your GoPro, and then you can really start to think about other options depending on what resources, like you mentioned, you can work with. So I know I worked with a partner in April that gave away a trip to Mexico because they had a connection with a local travel agency. We also have a New Orleans client that has a close connection with the police, and they do a helicopter ride as part of their incentive level. So it's really thinking about what resources you have available to you and making that work. And
I've also seen one too where you have a bigger prize. I know one of my clients, someone on their board has a vacation home in Colorado that they sort of do for a timeshare. So they actually have donated to the organization, and anyone that raises over $1,500 is entered in a draw. So it's that great incentive if someone is at, that $1,200 level. It's oh man, I just need to raise $300 more, and I get entered in the draw for this.
Yeah.
And you'll often hear us talk about those incentives for the week. So having anyone that raises $100 from this Monday to this Friday is going to be entered in a draw for a chance to win a gift card donated by Starbucks.
So that's not necessarily an incentive level to get somebody to raise more than the minimum, but getting them to fundraise now,
Yeah.
which can be challenging because even when I think about myself as a participant, a lot of it didn't come until the last 30 days because it wasn't top of mind for me.
Yeah.
So by providing those contests, not only are you doing those plugs to get people to, you know, reminder, hey, you need to be fundraising, but you can also incentivize them to get a $25 gift card to Starbucks
Absolutely.
or whatever. And some people will work that based on knowing that they're gonna have two brothers and sisters that are gonna donate $50, and they just need to follow up with them, and they have to do a bake sale, and maybe they could do it this Friday, all that kind of stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, and I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm like, ooh, free Starbucks, even though it's not the same because in my head I had to raise $100 to, you know, for a chance to win. But I'm like, ooh, free Starbucks.
But it's literally just a texting, working with your network, right?
Absolutely.
So it's like, why not do it now?
Yep.
So those things are really useful when it comes to building out kind of also your participant communication, but it does act as an incentive too. I also just wanted to make a note, and I always mention this on my kind of first calls with partners, is the fundraising toolkit, which is a huge book. It's on the members area of the website. You've probably received it from from your client experience manager. You've probably seen it before, but it's that 70-page document that has all the details and all the information that you'll need. If you don't know what I'm referencing, of course, you can go to the members area and download this. I call this the Over the Edge Dictionary because it's so much information and just like a ton of content. But when I'm looking for something, even just kind of what we wanted to chat about today, I just Control F the document, and then I see incentive levels.
Yeah.
But you can do that with anything using the fundraising toolkit. So just kind of a side note that this document's really helpful. It has all the information that you possibly need. Of course, you can reach out to us and ask questions.
Yeah.
But you can probably answer your question just looking at the toolkit. There's my toolkit plug.
Nice. I'm trying to think of other sort of like, you know, incentive levels we've seen for like bigger prizes.
Right.
The car.
The car.
This is crazy, but it's a good crazy.
So it actually didn't go to the top fundraiser. It was, I don't know. I think it was definitely everybody that raised $1,000 got entered into this draw to win a car. But there was also, I think if you raised like $500 more, you got entered again or something. So there was some others built in there. But yeah, we had a car last year that was given away to a participant, which is really neat.
Gary's got a great one. Gary, hope you're feeling better. Gary had surgery yesterday.
Oh, Gary.
He's missing his gallbladder, but he's not sad. He's quite happy the gallbladder is gone.
Best wishes, Gary. Okay, last year for every 250 over the 1,000, you got a chance in a drawing for a custom wrapped Yeti 65 cooler with our event, OT and nonprofit logos. Oh, that's so great. And I feel like I knew about that.
Yeah, it was a beautiful looking cooler. It was huge.
Right, Texarkana, right?
Yes.
Wow. Yes, I worked with you guys on that event last year. That's great. And yeah, we all commented that was a beautiful giveaway. So thank you for your comment, Gary. We really appreciate that.
I think what else we've seen for some big ones too. And like I say, you know, and if you want to do something kind of like that and kind of have like the raffle or, you know, for raising, you know, additional number above and beyond, you know, think of your connections again that you have. Like maybe it's last year's model or it's a floor model. Or, you know, the box is beat up that comes with it, or they're trying to get ready and bring in all their new inventory. So it comes back to everything. You know, you never know what people can do for you until you ask.
Right.
And that's really kind of, you know, using your networks, going out, talking to them and saying, hey, we're doing this really cool event. We'd love you to support us. How can you help?
Right.
And then sit back and say, you know, and that's really you're listening and saying, hey, how best can you support me?
Right, exactly. I mean, there's so many different ways in which you can be creative, like use your resources. Think about the experience itself, especially if you have experience with the event. You'll want to obviously consider photo opportunities, like the frame photo of the rappel, but also like photo flow is an opportunity, which again is in partnership with Over the Edge, where you can get social media photos of the participant going through the process. But you can consider that in multiple different ways. Like maybe the top fundraisers get a video, you know, and that's also experiential. The best thing, and when it comes to kind of creating those additional add-ons to your event that may have an impact on event day flow, don't hesitate to reach out to us and talk about that, because we'll want to make sure that we plan enough time. We communicate this with our team on site so that they're good to go and we don't have any major hiccups in terms of event day flow, so that we can stay on track with the schedule.
And Matt had a great idea, which is why it was my chuckle there. So Matt's one of our clients down in Riverside, California. And as we were talking about, We the North a little bit earlier in our broadcast today, that's where Kawhi Leonard is from. So he was suggesting that maybe he can get him to come back and rappel in his hometown, which if that happens, then 1,000% Matt, I'll be at your back. That's great. So yeah, so stuff like that, who is influential and who is well known in your community. And, maybe they're not from there. Maybe they have a second home there, or maybe, they're a hometown hero and they still live there. Think of who is influential in your community. Mm-hmm. And maybe even having, that could be an incentive. You get to rappel beside Kawhi if he comes back for it. Like, I guarantee you and people that would raise, $10,000 for that experience. Definitely. To rappel down, beside him and high five him or high kick him or with his ginormously long limbs or, touch his hand in some way. That would be a really cool experience.
For sure. Okay, so I think we've kind of touched on all the main items here. And thank you guys for your engagement. Let's do a couple of takeaways.
All right.
So I think at the top, we talked a lot about experiential versus tangible items. So it's better to, provide a framed photo of the rappel or something related to the rappel, a video of the rappel, rather than giving away an iPhone or a TV or something. I mean, It's still nice to have those things, but those are more tangible, and this is a really unique experience. So think experiential versus tangible items.
But I mean, if you can get a big screen TV donated or a brand new iPhone, certainly don't say no to that.
Those make really good incentives for what you were talking about, which is really incentivizing participants to raise the money.
Yes.
So we talked about the gift cards, but how awesome would it be that every single $100 that you raise this week, you get entered into a draw for the TV?
Yeah.
So I find that those tangible items work in that way. So don't say no to them.
Yeah, never say no to a donation. We will find a way to incorporate it.
Exactly. But you can definitely utilize your tangible donations.
Absolutely.
In that way. Perfect. Okay. And most popular incentive levels are GoPros.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, GoPros are huge. Anything to do with sort of that VIP experience. So whether, they're getting customized parking day off, they're being escorted to the site.
Apparel. Yeah.
Yeah. They're having, their own photographer follow them around, have a bit of a photo shoot. That, they're having some additional pictures taken that maybe everybody else isn't. Or, I've seen a couple that have had great partnerships with car dealerships where, they're escorted to the event and maybe one of their new shiny car models that just came out kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a car town or there's a lot of, really big car dealerships in town, that can be a great way to kind of get them involved. And it's a cool experience.
Right.
Ooh, I got chauffeured in this. I can't think of a fancy car because I'm not a car person. But you know what I mean.
You're getting, okay, but in terms of most popular,
yeah,
it's got to be GoPros, I would say photos or videos.
The swag, any sort of apparel.
Apparel. I would say, and frame photo of the rappel, I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but those are, and like we mentioned earlier, the rope bracelets are also really popular. So I would say those are your most popular ones, but you can be really creative, like Karen has mentioned, other opportunities in which partners have capitalized on their connections.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be a little bit random, but maybe it's cool. And the only reason I think of this, so last year I went to our barbecue festival that we had here, and it was they had 10 different rib trucks came in. And those seems really random. But there was a lady there, and you get your eyebrows threaded, which seems like a very strange combination of having your eyebrows threaded and going to a barbecue festival. But I tried it out. And I thought it was really cool because it stood out because it was so different that I was like, what does eyebrow threading have to do with barbecue? Wow. But I thought it was so cool that I went and tried it. Right. So even though we're looking for things that kind of meld together, sometimes it's just so far out in left field that it just kind of draws your attention. Like, man, that's cool. It's a little bit of a side story, but it made sense to me in my head.
That's funny. Yeah, you can definitely be creative and think about the opportunities that exist within cross-promo events or other events. Scaling your incentives is also really popular. So creating those different incentive levels. So not just having one incentive level, unless you're taking it easy this year, this is your first year and you don't want to kind of overcomplicate things, but usually having a scale will really incentivize people to get to that top one if you really package it well. And then the other option is also top fundraiser, like plaques or awards. We do see a number of partners do that for top fundraiser, top team, presenting sponsor. And so maybe you can link that to your mission, depending on what your mission is, like artwork made by a client of yours, or, you can do whatever fits for your organization.
Yeah. And I think it's a great way to recognize them too, kind of having that physical piece, whether it's a trophy or a plaque or something to kind of commemorate the experience. Because the nice part too is that they're always, especially if it's for the company or even the individual, they're going to see that sitting on their desk. Like, oh yeah, remember when I did that last year? And it's just that little reminder in the back of their head. Oh yeah, that was really cool. I should definitely do that again.
Right, exactly. All right, cool. I think that's the summary.
Yeah, I think so.
We hope you enjoyed the incentive levels chat. Hopefully we'll be back soon to connect again.
Yeah, and if there's something you guys think of after this, or you weren't able to catch it live and you're kind of following up later, feel free to send us an email, give us a call. Even if we're not your client experience managers, by all means, feel free to contact them. You can contact us directly too. We'll kind of elaborate a little bit more. I probably have some more random stories if you want to hear those too. I can probably share those.
That's great. Okay, everyone, have a great Friday and a great weekend.
We the North.
We the North. Bye, everyone.
See ya.